Sactown Sports.
It's been a long time, Drapes, since I've talked to our next guest. I think you guys have had him on since I think you had him on one day, maybe when I wasn't here. Former Major League infielder, great scout. He saw me one time and he was looking. He was, hey, you look like you could play a little bit.
Really?
Like, yes.
He eyeballed that?
He was just being nice.
All right.
Because he's a very nice guy. A's analyst, NBC Sports California, Shooty Babitt. How are you, Shooty?
Gentlemen, thank you for the kind welcoming. You're way too kind. You know, I got that R. Kelly in me when you start talking about still could play. My mind telling me, yeah. But that body just won't let me do it.
Shooty, we know the A's have struggled. They've been struggling. They're ahead today. I want to focus on something more positive than the recent stretch here to begin. You obviously being a scout, you've seen a lot of good players, bad players, all types of players come and go. Tell us about Jacob Wilson, how he compares to some of the outstanding shortstops you've seen in the early parts of their careers.
I would just say that he's the truth. The bottom line, at the end of the day, in Major League Baseball, if you're not a pitcher, your hallmark is going to start with that bat. And he has some of the best bat-to-ball skills I've witnessed in a long time, and I've played against, I've scouted, I've analyzed. I've seen a little bit of every kind of swing and every kind of hitter. And, Carlos Delgado was one of my favorites because he's one of those guys that could really catch the baseball, and he has such strong wrists and good hands. Even though they're different but unique, and I think all good hitters are unique. They can't be duplicated or replicated. They can only be appreciated. And when I see this young man, he's hard to pitch to. People are starting to try to pitch him inside, and most pitchers are incapable or afraid to pitch in there because damage typically results from trying to get in there and missing. Mm-hmm. And you're kind of pitching into his weakness because he's an inside-out swinger. He likes to open up the plate so he can utilize his hands and just serve you to death. And what he's doing is something that you don't see every day. I kind of put it down to when I saw Bobby Witt Jr. As a minor leaguer in AA, when I saw Ellie De La Cruz, when he's with Cincinnati in the minor leagues. It's just that special talent, that special gift, something you're born with, and you just don't see this. So we need to just watch it. The adjustments that's going to be made. I had told Chris Townsend in the beginning that this kid was going to lead the team in hits. I told Carlos Ramirez last week that he's going to be an all-star, and the accolades keep coming due to what he's doing on the field, man. So he is a special player.
Shooty, what's up, man? Kyle Draper here, man. Good to have you on. What's up? It's been too long, man.
The second cleanest man on TV.
I tell you what, we had a discussion, Shooty, the other day about what clothes do hosts have to wear, and I said, it depends on your analyst. If your analyst is coming in clean, you got to come in clean. So every time I work with Shooty, I knew I had to come in clean.
Nothing but respect, Kyle. Nothing but respect, bro. There are people that came before us that set precedents, and I've always respected those that have given us an opportunity. My main goal, not only being the best analyst I could be, but trying not to mess it up for the next guy. So all I'm trying to do is set an example for how blessed we are for being able to do what we do. We don't take no days off, because our mind is always working. But I appreciate you because you always come in there correct, and it don't even have to be stated. It's overstated when you come up in there, bro. So I appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir, man. I'm happy to have you on. Let me ask you this. We know the squad is struggling. The A's are struggling. Lost 20 out of 21. How much of it is talent-driven? How much of it is the drama surrounding the location of the franchise, you think?
I think it's a conglomeration of everything. I just don't think people really understand the magnitude and how difficult it is for a team in major sport, especially Major League Baseball, when there's 162 games and there's so much required mentally and physically. I mean, it's a grind. And I never want to make an excuse for a big league player because there is an expectation level. But I also understand the process, also understand the situation, because a lot of times situations are dictated by circumstances, and there's a lot there. But I will say this: I love the young crop of kids that we have. Getting the opportunity to play at the big league level a little early in their careers, and some of are handling it very admirably, if you will, and performing probably better than most people thought. And in the past, this has been an organization of late where it's the land of opportunity. So you're getting guys that are being come in here for audition, if you will, and if you don't show right away, the show will go on with another player, and that's what's happening. So trying to fit a major league operation in a minor league park with construction and upgrades within a 6-month period, I commend the effort by everyone involved, but it's pretty much impossible to do. So with that being said, there are a zillion guys sitting today listening or watching or have seen the game today that would have loved to be in the position that the guys that were running out there in those green and gold uniforms and just dreaming of what that would like to be. So you got to deal with it. You try to win today and handle tomorrow when it gets here. Today, the A's came through with a big win. They dropped head all over them boys. There was a lot of frustration and anger all over the place. So, hey, man, that's the game. But I've been in it long enough to know that, bro, you can't get excited about a good month or a bad 2 weeks. It's a long season, man.
That's Shooty Babitt. I wanted to ask you, Shooty, you have obviously a unique perspective on all this, having been a major league player. I want to ask you about Mark Kotsay. He's done such an amazing job. I watch him, and my heart goes out to him. You know better than most of us what he actually has to go through right now. Does Mark Kotsay deserve, I don't know, a medal or a statue or something for managing the team through all this chaos?
Well, you say managing the team. And I think when you say that, it's a little different just coming up, having a title and managing the players in which that you have on your roster. Unfortunately, and fortunately for players, you are getting an opportunity to develop at the major league level, improve yourself, and maybe we can project on you getting a little better in this area. We can tweak you there. And I'm old, I used to wear natural. Now, it's on the way to the skin, bro. It ain't coming back, just like my philosophy maybe in some parts of the game. So it is what it is. So he has a tough task of managing young men as also developing, which took place in the minor leagues. And in my humble opinion, and as long as I've been around and which I've seen and lived and watched, the experience in the minor leagues, the at-bats, the failure, the ability to adjust, work on it, not be in such a high leverage situation where careers and livelihoods and everything else is on the line. It prepares you for the big stage. I tell people all the time, ain't no league bigger than the big leagues. They've been sent rockets up there, missiles, everything. They ain't sent no baseball team is up there. So in my opinion, it don't get no bigger than this radio show today. It don't get no bigger than the game. And you expect the best from the players that are there. And Mark Kotsay's beard was a little brown and gray at the beginning of the year. Now he got a lot of gray and white up in there. So he's making it look a lot easier than what it is. But, yes, he should be commended because he was the type of player that played with passion. He played on the edge. He'd take you out in the left field. He'd take the extra base. He'd grind out at bats. He would do whatever it takes to win because at the end of the day, the bottom line is not how you won or how you lost. It's if you won. And he was a winning player. So there's so much that goes involved in preparing for a game, preparing players. There are a lot of more voices that involve. And you're not the holy grail of the voice, if you will, when it all comes down to, because there's more than one voice in the room, and that's in every organization. But Mark Kotsay has done a tremendous job of remaining positive, not being negative, throwing anybody off the bus. I think he learned a lot from Bob Melvin, who was one of the best player managers that I've gotten a chance to witness in a while, because no matter what, he always turned attention to himself and what the upside should be. So he's the perfect man for this job right now. There's so many uncertainties, so many moving parts. And each day these guys come out and they prepare and they compete. And I've never seen any quit in them. I've seen some frustration, but never any quit. And a lot of times that's a direct reflection of the manager.
And I was going to ask you about the players, Shooty. You know, we talked about Jacob Wilson, you know, Butler, Rooker, Soderstrom, 2 home runs today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, from an individual player standpoint, I know the record isn't what anybody wants it to be, but how about the individual performances and the talent, the young talent we're seeing? And as a player, what's your advice to these guys navigating something through that nobody's ever faced before?
Learn your game, study your craft, build up resources. You know, you look at old G hitters, you know, they always have a little black book in their pocket. I know they've got computers and laptops and tablets and all that kind of stuff. But I think writing is remembering. And because you're going to see some of these guys, especially ones that are going to be around again, and you'll be a better player and they'll be a better pitcher. But today is the start of tomorrow. So you can't get frustrated because you have a job, you have a craft, you have ability, you have an impact skill, or you have a carrying tool, whatever allowed you to get to this level, just like the rest of the guys that you're going to be competing against. I mean, the physical part of it, the tools, I mean, man, there's a lot of great players that are sitting at home that couldn't figure out the task. If you got to have some mental approach in this game or you get carved up. But you with grown, you know what, men right now. So you got to take your game to a whole nother level. And a lot of times you need to get socked over the head a little bit to know that, you know, I'm going to put my guard up and be ready next time somebody throw a blow at me because I'm going to block it. Then I'm going to drop one on them. So that's what it's all about right now, man. 3 out of 10, you're a Hall of Famer in this game. 2 out of 10, you're sitting up here talking about it like me. So one more hit, bro, and you and a hero. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Shooty, how do you keep all the losing from harming the development of the young players, especially the relievers and the young pitchers, when you're playing in a park now where the ball tends to fly at night?
You better deal with it.
Uh-huh.
If you keep the ball below the knees as a pitcher, you can't get shot up out the yard.
Mm-hmm.
When the air gets light and it get 100 degrees up in Sacramento, you can throw it up like a ping pong ball and it's going to blow up out of there. And you know that. So you as the best in the world, I don't care what the game says about spin rate and all that kind of stuff with the ball do up in the zone. You miss and it's a pop-up, you shot up out of there. Pitch. You're not throwing, you're pitching. I'm looking for soft spots. I'm looking for bad swings. I'm looking for ground balls. And I'm trying to get hitters off balance so they can't elevate and shoot me up out of the yard. If you watched our game today, in a way that Kennard attacked our hitters early on before we started busting his head, where he missed, it was down in the zone. He was straightening them up, and he was seeking them at the bottom of the zone. But what happens with modern-day pitchers, because they are throwers or they don't get their legs in shape like they used to do in the day and run poles so they can go 6, 7 innings, they get tired. And their legs get tired. And what happens when your legs get tired? You get the ball up. And what ends up happening, you know what happens. They turn into souvenirs. So the name of the game is keep the ball down on the ground and keep the ball in the ballpark. And that's going to be a theme in Sacramento. I don't care. I don't want to hear you crying about it. Okay, you are so blessed to be in the big leagues for what you may be capable of doing. Because if we knew exactly what you was going to do, none of the scouts would have a job. So there's somebody that believes in your craft and the authority and the wherewithal to be able to take it to the next level. It's a challenge, you know. But you know what? It's a challenge standing the Fairfield Inn in Buffalo, Mississippi, waiting to see an A-ball game. But you know what? I'll be there when they say play ball because that's my job.
Shooty Babitt.
Ooh, good stuff.
Thank you, Shooty. We appreciate it. We hope to talk to you again soon.
Man, please have me on again, man.
For sure. 100. You're going to be a regular,
All right,
Shooty.
Kyle, man.
Appreciate you,
Love
man.
you, man.
All right,
Keep
man.
up the great work, guys.
All right,
Thank
baby.
you, Shooty.
Take care.